I don't think it's we're not willing. We're not trained to do that. The stereotypes surrounding Greenville and the violence makes people not want to invest in the community. Greenville is fucking beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
And 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your host here, Chris Jefferson. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of A State of Loud. Today, I have a very special guest for you guys. This is a born and raised Jersey City native. He is going into his 5th year anniversary of his podcast, For the Stress. I mean, he's breaking down barriers and really cultivating as a voice of I wouldn't say just one generation, but multiple generations here in Jersey City and throughout Hudson County. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, 4KJ.
Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that intro. It's weird being on this side of the mic, but I appreciate it.
Nah, I hear you, man.
Yeah,
I hear you. It's when you're used to being the I guess the interviewer instead of the interviewee. Mm-hmm. You're like you're. I don't want to say you're more in control, but you guide it where it goes.
Yeah. It's I think I've learned to kind of adjust depending on my guest's energy. Mm-hmm. So like when they come in, you do a little pre-show, whatever the case may be, and then however their mood is, I just kind of follow them.
Gotcha.
So if they're a little more hype and a little more like, yo, let's talk, let's do it, let's whatever, then I kind of match their energy. But if they're more mellow, if I see they're a little more shy, because I've realized a lot of people aren't used to being interviewed.
Yeah. Funny enough, right? Like everyday life, we are constantly talking to people.
All day.
But then when someone sits down like, hey, I want to talk to you, like, what, me? Like, words?
Yeah.
It's a totally different feel, man. And it's interesting you make that point of reading the vibes of the people you interview. Because I never really paid attention to that until like yesterday. I was recording a show. It was for Ron. And
shout out to OG Ron.
Big shout out to Ron. If you we'll talk. He was on the last episode, so hopefully big shout out to Ron though. And that's the thing. He recommended you to come on the show. So
okay.
That's what I'm thank you for being on. And being up at his show, he had his first episode and the second episode were totally polar opposites when it came to speed and tone. You had a young man, energetic, talking about life. You had an older woman that's just been seeing it all, talking chill. And I'm sitting here like, does anybody else realize the super change in flow from last time?
No, that's absolutely a real thing. And that's why, pardon me, that's why like when I interview people, when I talk to people, I like to at least get to know them a little bit. Just very like, I don't want to know your family history and anything like that, but just kind of give me a read of your energy, I know how to approach it. So that helps me. But yeah, every single interview I've done has been completely different. You know, I've had interviews where people started out very nervous, and then that's how we talk and we get into the conversation and they relax and they're like, oh, okay, I can just be myself.
Exactly.
So that's important. That's definitely important.
Exactly, man. And with that being said, like we said, 5 years going in, what got you into the podcast space? Because 5 years ago, podcasting was not what it is today. Like, what made you want to start?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say the people that got me into podcasting, first and foremost, is R.I.P. Reggie Osei. Reggie Osei was a podcaster, lawyer for hip hop. He was a community man, like, and most people know him as Combat Jack. And Combat Jack, I got exposed to his podcast, the Combat Jack Show, back when podcasting was called internet radio.
Okay,
so this was like
2010
or something like that. And I was just hooked. And I was just like, wow, y'all could just set up a microphone and talk about whatever for like 3 or 4 hours. Like, he had Chuck D on there and Dame Dash and just all of these, you know, I'm a hip hop baby. Yeah. So he had all of these great figures and people that I grew up admiring on there, just speaking unfiltered. And I'm just like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, seriously.
And from there, I I followed Combat Jack, and then it was a guy named Taxstone. Shout out to Taxstone. He's still locked up. Taxstone came out, and he was a street dude from East New York, and he talked like me. Like just some of the same, like we both say beloved. Like that's like, I guess they say it in New York, and that's like a slang that I've always said, just kind of like amongst my friends or whatever. So I was like, oh, this guy talks like me. But he was like very witty. He was very funny, but he was like a street dude. And I'm just like, nah, if he can do this with everything that he's been through, and then with the level of intelligence that Combat Jack has and just the people he knows, he's like, nah, I got to do this. I got to do this. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to go for it. I had that idea in 2015. That's sparked it. Like, all right, I'm going to do it. But I didn't start it until like a year later. So it took me like a whole year to actually gain the confidence to sit in front of a microphone and be like, I'm just going to talk about whatever. So it took a while, but
yeah, man. I think that's one of the hurdles many people don't talk about when it comes to getting into any type of media production, is that the idea is always the exciting part, right? Yeah. Like, so you grab that idea, you off and running.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, yo, I'm gonna get the equipment, we're gonna find a space, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna talk to people. It's the exciting part. But the minute you have to sit down and put your action to your words, it's a whole nother battle. And I know from myself, I was like that. Like, I remember I had a DJ podcast. Same name. It was a DJ podcast, like, wow, probably like 7 years ago I started. And I would just DJ and put out mixtapes I didn't talk at all. But just even that would make me nervous. Like, what are people going to think? What is going to think? And it wasn't until, I mean, more recently, up until a year ago, I got super confident just to, like you said, sit down, plug the mic in and start talking.
Right.
So, like, what was that crowning moment that was like, all right, I got to just start and do this. I got to put a plug and go all the way in.
I think like the politics in Jersey City really like propelled me into it, because I was walking around with this thought, like, damn, I want to start a podcast. Damn, I should do a podcast. Damn, I want to do a podcast. And then I was seeing different media outlets here in the city, but they were only talking about one area.
Okay.
And I'm just like, why y'all, like, the city is a lot bigger than what y'all talking about. And I did some Googles. I asked around. I was like, yo, is anybody like, because, you know, I'm from Greenville. So I asked around, like, was anybody like talking about what's going on up here? Anybody, you know, do we have any media outlets? And I didn't, there was a few, but it was like either they were inconsistent, or they weren't really talking about how I wanted it to be presented.
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right, I got to do it.
Okay. And that makes sense, man, because you're right. Like, and I like, there is not always an equal representation in media for certain areas. Like, I know being in Jersey City, like I'm wearing my I Love Greenville bracelet right now. I wear that every day. Right. And when you look at what the news portrays or major media outlets, the only thing you hear about Greenville is the violence.
Absolutely.
You don't hear about the art. You don't hear about the history. You don't hear about the people that are doing the good things out there. And it's needed. Yeah,
and that's what motivated me to make that decision, to be like, okay, that was like, I had the idea, and then once I saw the lack of representation, I was just like, all right, I gotta go now.
Okay.
So
now you mentioned the politics, because it always I feel like nowadays it's almost impossible not to include politics on the conversation, no matter what it is, right? Even if you're talking about hip hop music, you're talking about finances, politics is coming up. So Greenville. Hot topic, hot subject, especially in Jersey City, for the people that are living here that know about what's going on in the city. Greenville is definitely a new highlight on the map for a lot of people. I mean, if you can just look at some of the changes that are starting to happen, and we all kind of know what that change looks like and what it brings. What are some of the things you're seeing in Greenville now that you feel people definitely need to know about, whether they're in Greenville or not?
That's a good question. Well, first and foremost, is gentrification, of course. Like that's numero uno. Like you can't talk about Greenville without talking about the gentrification. I think number two would be the increased police presence because that's something that always bothers me.
Okay.
Because, pardon me, in Greenville, even though crime happens all over the city, we have cops sitting on our corners, like we're prisoners, like they're the wardens, and they just sit on the corner and stay there all night.
Yeah.
By my house, shout out to Ruckus, but by my house over there by Triangle Park, there's a squad car. There's like a 24-hour shift of squad cars that sit out there all night. Sirens on, not the sirens, the lights on all night. And that doesn't happen anywhere else in the city.
No, not at all.
As
soon as you get far enough down MLK, or at least you get to, what is it? Was it Commuter Park?
I think as soon as you stop, as soon as you pass Commuter Park, when it transforms into Monticello, that police presence stops.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's almost like a gated community where it's like, from the beginning of the hill to city line, there's police there. And then everywhere else it doesn't exist.
Oh, absolutely.
So like that's something I think everyone should know about because they treat us like animals. Even though yes, I get it, violence, whatever case may be, but you could get robbed at Grove Street.
Yeah,
I've seen bar fights downtown. Like it gets crazy in the Heights too. So it's like I don't understand the focus being there. And I think the third thing that people should know about Greenville is that, can I curse?
absolutely. This is a free range show. I've said some wild and crazy things on this podcast.
Okay. I was just making. I didn't know who was.
So you can curse, man. This is hey, if the kids are listening.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, hip hop music has a lot worse content than what we're talking about. So
yeah, I'm a little explicit sometimes. So that's all I was just trying to.
Nah, you're good. I mean, nah. If we can't take the language, why are we saying it?
You're right. I think the third thing is that Greenville is fucking beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's majority of a good portion of art comes from Greenville.
Yes, it does.
Whether it's music, art, media, like Greenville is a hotbed for just dope artists across the spectrum.
Absolutely.
So like I think that's what I always try to represent and always try to push to people who are interested in Greenville but don't necessarily have an entry point to kind of figure out what's going on. But I'm like, nah, Greenville is beautiful, yo. Absolutely beautiful.
And I definitely agree, man. I think it's with the knowledge I've learned about where Greenville sits and in the history of Jersey City. There's so much untapped knowledge that's not being told, not being spread, that it really fills that beauty that so many people miss. And you know there's proof of it because one of the biggest attractions of gentrification is the arts.
Yeah. Culture.
Then the culture of the space. And no matter where you see it, if you look at Brooklyn, because I remember going to Brooklyn Brewery when I was in my 20s and people saying, "You're walking there? Like, be careful." Yeah. And now you go there and there's little coffee shops at every corner.
It's
and
very safe now.
It's super safe now, right?
It's very safe.
Like like Manhattan's bad at this point.
No,
like,
real.
Brooklyn's beautiful at this point.
Brooklyn is like,
you overstep it and just take the train to get through. But
you can leave your door unlocked in Brooklyn right now.
I mean, I wouldn't leave my door unlocked anywhere. But I get you. Yeah. And it's that point, and I see that more and more in Greenville with so many different attractions really coming up. I remember recently we posted something on my nonprofit's page about the history of Greenville. The library in Greenville has the African American Museum of Jersey City is located in there.
What, the one on Jackson?
I think that's where it is. But there is an African American museum and it's located in the library.
Really?
in Greenville.
I did not know that.
And most people do not know about it.
I did not know that.
And there's so many other beautiful aspects in history. I know Stegman Ave has a long history. Big shout out to DB. I got to talk to his aunt about it. She told me some history on it, about that being one of the first blocks to actually have a block association to better the neighborhood and really communicate with things.
Right.
And funny enough, when I was working with Lewis in the Heights, older woman, she was talking to me, got still holding on to her house, old school, 1-story, 1-family house in the Heights. God bless her. And she was telling me, like, oh yeah, we had block associations. Yeah, that was a big thing. Like, it used to be like when the block associate would talk to this people, and they would contact and be in talk with the assembly person and the council person, and usually when elections came around, if the head of the block was not messing with you, you didn't get the block's vote. And it showed the power of the people and what they had, and to know that a large part out in Jersey City stemmed from Greenville, it just goes to show the additional history and the art and the beauty that, like you say, is there.
Yeah.
And like, I know you probably see it. There's a lot of murals going up throughout Greenville. There's a lot of additional art places. I know they're really making a push to start developing more on MLK.
We call it Jackson.
Jackson.
We call it
Yep.
Jackson.
So to me, now it's what would you like to see in Greenville to really exemplify and show the public the art and beauty that Greenville holds, and not just the negative stigmas that the news and the media may put on it?
I think I want more concentration on the arts.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think with because there's so much talent up there, and so many kids who are looking for an outlet outside of the regular, sports or anything like that. Like, I want more. Blanking out. I'm sorry. I want more focus on the arts. I want more focus on like tech. I want more focus on things kids now are already into. Like, a lot of kids are interested in tech and don't even know it because they're on their phones all day.
Yeah.
So if we had something up there to show kids, hey, you can have a career in tech, or you can develop, or you can code, or you can do whatever. Like, I want to see that. I also want to see, like, I forgot, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling him, like, I like coffee shops.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I want more coffee shops on the hill.
It's true. I'm trying to think of one.
There's no coffee shops on the hill. I don't even drink coffee.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee. I drink tea.
But you want to chill at a coffee shop.
I want to chill. I like the coffee shop aesthetic. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I'm a tea guy. I like if anybody who knows me knows, I drink tea. But like, I want to be able to, walk and go sit in the coffee shop, do some work, chill or whatever. Like, I think for whatever reason, the stereotypes surrounding Greenville and the violence makes people not want to invest in the community, and paints Greenville as like we don't want anything or we don't care about anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's the complete opposite.
Absolutely.
Like, if we had more fruit stands, if we had coffee shops, if we had smoothie shops, like, we like froyo.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
seriously, we just got to travel all the way somewhere else to go get it.
You dig what I'm saying? Like I don't want to, like, we like sushi. Why I gotta go all the way?
Bro,
you know
seriously.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we like eating good. Like, we enjoy finer things too. We want access to nice things. I don't want to have to go all the way downtown or go to a whole entire different ward just to get a nice donut. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
Shout out to Treehouse.
I was there when you said that. I'm like, West Side Ave?
Yeah,
I
love Treehouse. I love Treehouse.
And that goes to show, like, it's not that these places are not known by people throughout Jersey City.
Right. But it's like, I will want a Treehouse-esque spot on my side of town.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't mind traveling.
No.
Again, Treehouse is fire. Y'all getting free promo. Holla at me. But yeah, I would like something like that in my area. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I want a lot of these developers and a lot of these investors to realize like the stigmas and the stereotypes, like that is a big portion of what kind of keeps Greenville where it is. Now, mind you, I'm not going to be oblivious. Yes, there are elements up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, like things can get a little crazy once in a while, but that's with anywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's where we tend to miss the mark on development, right?
Right.
Because how can I say this? Everybody is looking for the opportunity to make money when it comes to development.
Absolutely.
Right? When there's a shift in something, or there's a section where the area has gotten so undeveloped that the property's cheap, it's like, all right, let's go in, let's buy, and let's make money.
Right.
And in that process, as I will never put someone down for wanting to make a living for themselves. Mm-hmm. The only time that bothers me is when you're putting aside the value of humanity and human life in which to do so.
Right.
Because what you talk about is just having the simple things of any neighborhood to grow and prosper. Mm-hmm. Now, you put it all together. You said there's police at every corner. Mm-hmm. But only in a specific area, almost as if they're the wardens and you're the prisoners living in that town. Mm-hmm. You leave too late at night, they're going to bother you and say, where you going? Right. You come in too late at night, what you coming in here for? What you been at? Right. And it makes you feel like you have like a hall monitor for the place you live. There's no major grocery stores.
None.
Banks are hard to find. None. No coffee shops, no donut shops. It's almost creating a desert where you can't reinvest your money in your community.
And that's what, you're absolutely right. And that's what bothers me, is because you take away our resources and then get surprised about how we act. Like, what do you expect? Mm-hmm. You're taking away everything, our basic human needs to a degree, and you expect us not to act like animals sometimes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most crime boils down to survival, necessity.
Yeah, most crime is proximity.
Yeah, what they say, if most time if you're robbed, it's by somebody you know. Most times,
but and then you have to look at it like, because of that lack of resources in this community, I mean, some guys might be doing whatever on the street. Other guys don't want to do that, so they got to get it another way, and that usually means taking it from somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
But if you would invest in the community, then you would lessen that. Mm-hmm. Because again, the community would like those things. The community would like to stay where it's at, but you take things from us, or you don't award us the opportunity to even, like, well, so I used to live on Van Nostrand, right? And on Ocean and what's that block? I think that might be Armstrong. Ocean and Armstrong, there used to be like a smoothie shop there. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it was black owned, and they was there for maybe a year. I'm being generous. Mm-hmm. And, I was asking around, like, yo, what happens to that smoothie shop on Ocean? They was like, oh, the rent's too high. It's like, oh, okay. Then I see other businesses on like MLK, more on Ocean. They'll come up, stay for 6 months to a year, asking around, yo, what happened to da-da-da-da? Oh, the rent's too high. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, okay. This is why we can't have businesses in our area, because you dickheads keep overcharging on the rent.
Yep.
And now the businesses who want to be here can't be here.
Absolutely. And that's where I've had this conversation previously, right? With one of my friends, right? Because money is often used as an entry point, right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember having a conversation with someone. They said, you don't pay money to get into the club just because it's nice. You pay the money to get in the club because you know to keep the riffraff out. Mm. And at the time, I was like, they're not wrong, because there are places, if you can't afford to get in, there's going to be a certain level of people there, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from anything that's going on, because I've been in clubs all over the world that are expensive to be in. And I can tell you the stuff going down in there, any other place, there would be authorities called. And so the crime is treated differently. The behaviors are treated differently, but they're still maintaining the same. Like you go to a hood spot, people gonna want to smoke. People gonna want to have a good time. They're gonna get drunk. Some people gonna let the egos get it. They may go at it, but that's not. How do you say?
That's not race
That's
specific.
that's not race specific. It's not even location specific.
No.
It's not anything specific. It's just what is being portrayed and what is being shown of this. Because I've been tons of places where they kick people out. I've been tons of places with different types of people of different ethnicities that have had the same things go on. I've seen worse stuff in certain areas that you would think wouldn't be there, but it's the way that it's painted, and it's from when I look at history, it's nothing brand new.
Oh no, absolutely. Like I often tell people, like ghetto is indiscriminate. Like ghetto is applicable to everyone, but for whatever reason, it always gets thrown on us. But I know ghetto white people. I know ghetto Asian people. I know ghetto Indian people.
Yeah, that's right.
I know ghetto Spanish people. Like ghetto is not just it's always thrown on black people for propaganda and all that other stuff. But there is, like you were saying, like there is I'm gonna say concentrated effort to make ghetto apply or make ghetto applicable to the one group of people. And then when you have that, it makes it easier for investors not to invest in the area because
absolutely.
they can easily say, "Oh, that area is ghetto."
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the most mind-boggling things that I realize about our society, right? Is the behaviors in which you deem unacceptable. 90 most of the time is a result of actions you've taken to limit the resources and accessibility to advancement to a group of people. But yet then when you look back and say, why are you like this? Why don't you do better?
And that's what makes
You
me upset.
eliminate your accountability for your actions. And to me, that became extremely clear when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Which, if you guys know about him, that his life ended back in the 50s. But then I read the autobiography of David Goggins, who's still alive today, and he's not old. I believe he's late 30s, 40s. I'm not sure how old he is. Now I need a Jamie to be like, Jamie, Google it. But he's not that old of a man, but yet he had very, very similar experiences growing up. And then I open my eyes to look at my world, and I say, it's nothing new. And the funny thing is, people go, "Oh, the world's is one of the worst places it's ever been." I'm like, no. We got really good at hiding it and painting it and calling it something different. This is how it's been. And don't get me wrong, we've made amazing advancements, but they've all come at a cost. And I only reason I say that is because I know I'm going on a tangent here, but like you're like you said, you're a hip hop kid. You know about the culture. So when if you look at things now, there's a lot of change going on, right? But with those change and with those desires, I got to get more specific about it. Kanye, he's doing a lot of revolutionary things in fashion. A lot of things he's doing. A lot of people like the dude's crazy. Everything he does, first, everyone deems him crazy. Jesus Walks, that was going to get played. People loved it. He makes a gospel album. People like, who cares? One of the best gospel albums I've heard. Then he makes Donda. He has rappers talking about religion, their emotional struggles, toxicity growing up in the hood, all these things on an album. Puts it out. Fast forward now, DJ Khaled. First hit single on his record. What is it? God did. Like, I'm sitting here like, remember when y'all said Kanye was crazy, right?
Yeah, word.
And to get to my point, what I think he's realizing is that the value that we hold in our culture, the value we have in the arts, it is just now that we're starting to stand up and say, no, this is ours. this is something we can control. This is something, because now we have the internet. Literally, you and I can sit here and have a conversation, and this will be on the internet for whoever in the world wants to hear it.
Right.
Never in history has that been available. So now we no longer have the dependency for certain things. Not all. We still have, like, the people in power to be in politics play a huge role in the development of towns. But now you if you're talented enough, can gain the resources to make those changes.
I would say, I think, like, I agree. I agree for the most part. The only thing I'm going to push back on is I think the accessibility is the only thing that has really changed. Like you said, with the development of technology, of course, things are going to change. But as far as the message of our, standing up for our culture and fighting for that, like, we've been saying that since again, I'm a hip hop baby. We've been saying that for forever. So, like, quick story. So one of the very first hip hop records I've ever heard in my life, my mother had a vinyl, and I always bring this story up to her. It was a vinyl from a group called Stop the Violence.
Okay.
It was Chuck D, KRS-One, Kool Moe D, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, Queen Latifah, Roxanne Shantae, like, and I remember it vividly. It was a white vinyl, and it had it looked like a Brady Bunch type of thing. And on that record, they're rapping about everything that we're dealing with now that's like community specific, stopping the violence, loving each other, caring about your community, caring about your culture. That record came out in '87, the year I was born.
Same.
I'm 35.
Bruh.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed. No.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just the accessibility of getting this message out. So it's like, I think we're in a I think we have these periods, and I kind of feel like we're in one now where it's like a renaissance period.
I agree.
Where it's like more like when you have a collective enlightenment, and everyone is putting out things in their respective fields, so you see the same message more and more, but it's been the same message.
Absolutely.
So I think we're in one of those periods now where it's just everyone is. I think COVID had a big part of that, because the world got to stop, and we got to just sit with ourselves and just like, okay, what's important? What do I care about?
Absolutely.
What do I want to fight for? And I think that kind of propelled that, because I had friends who were, after quarantine was over, they drawing, making. You know what I mean? Making candles and all types of shit. Like, bro, you was never this creative before. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, when did you learn this?
Yeah,
Where'd you get this?
Like, you building stuff with your hands now?
Yeah.
Like, how you do? Like, so it's like, I think we're in this period of renaissance, and usually with renaissance, politics is a very big part of that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I always tell people, like, you can't ignore politics. Politics is your life.
Absolutely.
And I have these conversations with, like, dudes from the street all the time where it's like, man, fuck that politics shit, fuck that political shit. I'm just like, bro, the reason why just for an example, the reason why, like, your grandmother is having trouble getting her Social Security check is because of the government. The reason why, there's a problem at your kid's school and the teachers don't care or whatever the case may be is because of the government. All of this affects your life.
Absolutely.
You can't ignore it. No matter what you do, you can't ignore it. So it's like, you don't have to be actively involved, but at least know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
bare minimum.
And I'm glad you bring up that point, right? Because for the longest time, people, and this is one thing. Let me restate it. Where one of the biggest statements we got on the campaign with Lewis for people that didn't vote is that they said, it doesn't matter who gets in office, my life stays the same. Nothing improves, nothing changes. They make promises around campaign season. They give me free pizza, and then once they get the vote, they go home, and nothing changes. And to me, I mean, was it Einstein? I forgot who it was that said, doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result
I think that's
is insanity. Now, we not just, like, we as a culture have back politicians. We put people in office that we think are going to make change and never happens. And to me, that has deterred many people from getting involved, like you said. Like, forget it, why am I even going to try? And what blows my mind is the willingness to accept what is as if it's the most certain thing ever, that we can't make the change. And the wild thing about it is a lot of politicians have worked towards making sure you feel that way.
Absolutely.
Making sure you feel you don't have a voice. And what boggles my mind is people have died for us to sit here and have these conversations, for us to get up here and vote, to have a right, yet people take that completely for granted. And rightfully so, I understand, because you vote for column A, make you promises, nothing changes in your life. You vote for column B, it doesn't support anything in your narrative, so you don't vote for him. And you're like, well, I can vote for the dude that's not going to do nothing for me, or vote for the dude that openly says he's not going to do anything for me.
Right.
And you're like, why do I get up and make a change? And I think we can both agree where the only way change is going to make is by putting people in the positions to make the changes you want and then holding them accountable.
I absolutely agree with that. Like, I want to go back to something you said. Like,
Please.
You said that there are politicians. Like, fuck politicians. There are whole corporations designed to make sure you don't care about voting.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think with that, especially like with Trump and, even with our mayor, people, like when he won the past election, people was looking at me like, really? 3 terms? I was like, not even half the city came out and voted. What you want me to do?
Yeah, there's 300,000 people, approximately 300,000 people in Jersey City. 100,000 of them are registered, and not even half of them came out to vote.
No, I think it was like 30,000 total votes.
Wild. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was like a little more than 30,000 votes.
That's like what, 2 blocks of people?
That's wild. That's not even a whole ward.
That's not even half a ward.
That's a couple blocks.
That's a couple blocks. So you telling me maybe 3 or 4 blocks, an entire city voted.
Thank you.
So it's like I get it, because I talk to a lot of people who are vehemently against voting. I get it. I get it, because we are historically a community that gets overlooked, underserved, and underdeveloped.
Absolutely.
So I get it. But at the same time, like, I'm with you. Like, I don't have a defeatist mentality. Like, when something is going wrong, I'm just like, yo, how do we fix this?
Thank you.
And I'm going to keep swinging, because eventually I'm going to knock you out.
Thank you. And that's where, how can I say this? Because this is a conversation I have with a lot of my constituents throughout Jersey City, about getting people excited to vote, changing the culture around involvement in politics, right? Because it's not that we can't make the change in these things in culture. Earn Your Leisure made it dope to know about money, to know about investing. They're having festivals about it and having a lot of well-known artists and investors talk to the people to change the culture around making money. So I believe we can do that with politics. My big question is, like, my question to you, because I think my means is, I think I've always been taught behave and enact the behaviors that you need to have for the job you want. So if you want to be a public servant and a public leader, you need to be that without having a title. But I guess my question is to you is going to be, what are some ways you think we could get people a lot more involved, a lot more interested, and change the whole culture around politics in general, at least in Jersey City?
Man, if I had $1 for every time someone asked me that question, I could fund any politician. No, I'm playing. I think for me, and this is like what I always tell people, you have to break everything down to the simplest denominator.
Okay.
Like, you have to figure out, like, so people who know me know that I gave the bike people in Jersey City a lot of shit.
Okay.
I was on their help.
You don't like the bike lanes?
I was very adamant.
Lanes to nowhere?
I was very adamant about saying, yo, fuck bike lanes. This shit is stupid. I don't give, like, I was not a fan, right?
Okay.
So after a while, a couple of them reached out to me because I guess they got tired of me slandering them. So we sat down, we talked, and I gave them my position. I just kind of told them like, look, the reason why someone like me doesn't care about bike lanes is because where I'm from, first of all, that's not on our priority list because we have to worry about survival. So we don't really give a shit about bike lanes. And then secondly is bike lanes in my community are always a sign of gentrification. Right? So said that to them.
That and a Whole Foods.
That too. and my rent going up.
There you go.
Right. So, I told that to them, and thankfully they were very welcoming to the information. But they also told me like, yes, we do focus on the bike lanes, but it's like pedestrian safety. And I thought about it. And shout out to OG Ron again, because I talked to him about it, and he made me understand that even though I didn't agree with the messaging, the common theme is pedestrian safety.
Okay.
So that's like my 72-year-old grandmother who still goes to church every Sunday, who still takes the bus. She needs to be safe walking the street.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My family needs to be safe. My kids need to be safe walking the streets. So once I kind of got that, like, okay, so it's not just bike lanes, it's about public safety. Then that made me realize that's how you get everybody involved. You have to find that common denominator between what you want and what the community wants. And a lot of times, the politicians have a very, and if y'all watching this video, stop doing this shit. Like, they have a very bad habit of just saying whatever they think the community wants.
Hands down.
And they'll just be like, you want this? Yeah, we'll do that. And then they get in office and don't do anything. And it's like, you fucking bozo. Like, we just wanted you to do what you said you was gonna do. Don't come to us saying whatever you think we want to hear, because you're lying to us, and then that makes us more discouraged. It makes us more angry at the system, and then we're really not gonna come out to vote.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think for whatever policy, whatever, I don't care if you want to fight about climate change, pedestrian safety, abortion rights, the LGBTQ plus rights, like whatever you want to fight for, you have to break it down to the common denominator.
So I definitely agree with you on that piece, right? Because we as human beings, we all want the simplest in things in life, right? Make a good living, provide for ourselves, some place to sleep, access to food, means of transportation. And safety, right? Yeah. It's not that hard being a human being. We all kind of want this. We all want the same thing.
Yeah, our basic needs are all the same.
Yeah, but I think, and this is to point out to your proof of what politicians do, saying what you want. Because like I said, and with any plan, making the plan sounds beautiful. We all get hyped making a plan for something. But it's the execution and the accountability that we strongly lack in our society, right? Because and this is what I see, not just in local politics, but politics in general. We get someone that's visually appealing, likable personality. They say what we want to hear. We say this person is going to help us, right? We don't want to ask the hard-hitting questions and do research to say, what has this person done before even getting here? And to me, with a role as important as a political leader for a town, a city, a state, a country, why are we not willing to look into someone's resume and track record? Not necessarily, I'm a businessman and I've made millions of dollars for myself. Because let's be honest, running a business is not the same as running a town.
Right.
People are not dollar bills.
Right.
You can help one and not help the other, and it's easily distinguishable. Why are we not willing to call people and hold you accountable? Why are we not willing to say to politicians, you haven't done anything for my town. I don't know who you are. I don't see you at any events. You know nobody here, but you have a lot of money and you recently moved here. Why should we vote for you?
All right, I'm gonna push back. I don't think it's we're not willing. We're not trained to do that.
Okay.
As a community, historically, I mean, you look at the 60s when the civil rights movement was really, really like cracking for real. It was it was that organization. People came out. People were together. They were organized in a way where it was like, no, we're going to hold our local official responsible or accountable, for whatever the case may be. And then you look at time and how, we had the crack epidemic. We had, the rise of hip hop. It's like we have all of these other things, and you could debate about whether it was by design or not, or whatever the case may be. But my point is, you have all of these changes happening, and I'm just talking about the black community for right now, but you have all of these changes happening, and we're not focused on politics by any means.
Never, at any point.
At any point. So it's like, as a collective, of course, we've always had political sets in our culture, in our community, who were just devoutly like, I'm just going to focus on politics. We had those people, but you look at how predominantly white towns, and this always interests me when looking at politics, like especially Republican voters. Republican voters will vote for every fucking thing, everything. Sheriff, district attorney, fucking the bag boy at the grocery store. They don't, like, Republican voters vote for everything. And I had to look at them like, yo, why are they always out at every single election? And no matter what it is, it's because they're trained. They're trained. They know that to get what I want as a citizen, I need to know what this guy is doing or what this lady is doing. I need to know that. Us as our community, our priorities weren't looking at that.
Oh, absolutely. We and like you said, the system did everything it could to even discourage us from even wanting to pay attention.
Exactly.
So over the years, it was just like, why put any energy and effort? Because regardless of who gets in, my needs are not going to be seen. I'm not going to be heard, which means my needs are not going to be met.
Right.
So there's way less of an incentive to even pay attention.
Right. So it's like, our community is just looking at it like, man, fuck all that. They're not going to do nothing for us. I don't care. But it's like, no, that's what they want you to think.
Exactly.
But again, we're not trained in that way. We're not trained to think that politics is going to help us, which, in all honesty, has hurt us for a very long time, because you look at every single other community, like, yo, Indian Square, you can't do shit in Indian Square.
No.
You better not fucking litter. You better not even spit on the street wrong. Because in Indian Square, that community understands that any single problem we have, I'm going right to my council person. Because y'all going to hear what the fuck my problem is.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and because they're trained that way, we have to, us as a black community in, Greenville and just very predominantly black areas across the country, like, we have to understand that politics will work for us. And it's not like you have to vote Democrat, you have to vote Republican.
Yeah.
However you want to vote, the biggest thing is that you are involved. And that will change the trajectory of whatever you want done. And I think that is something, like I was saying earlier about the Renaissance, I think that is something I'm seeing more and more and more, because it's like, the dudes from my block like politics.
Oh yeah, and that's the. I guess how you said there were times where they didn't care. When did you see that change come about?
I think it's gonna sound corny as shit, but I think Obama. Like, honestly,
really? Okay.
I really think Obama, because Obama got in there, and Obama's a dude from Chicago. He's a regular dude from Chicago, and I think with Obama getting in there, and you could debate however you feel about his political record, but I think that really sparked something in us, like just seeing one of us in the White House, like, oh shit,
that's for real.
That's like
this is a joke that we never. That was, I know in my family growing up, there was like, oh, we'll never see a black president.
Same here. So like, even if you disagree with his policies or however you make whatever, I'm not talking about that, but representation is important.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that him being there, just being there, made people like, oh shit,
we could do this.
I could do something.
We can go mess something up a little
bit. I can go to this meeting. That's what you're telling me?
Oh, absolutely.
I could speak at the city hall oh, okay. So it's like more and more people, I think that was sparked it more because, we didn't have that representation before. And I think that representation was important for people to see that it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. And I think a lot of times that's all you need to see, that it is possible.
Absolutely.
And that's why, like, we was talking off mic, but that's why I commend, the work that you and Lewis did, because
Thank you.
for him to be a black man from the city running, with the last black mayor was what, Cunningham?
Yeah. What?
I feel like I'm missing one.
No, I believe there was only one.
Wasn't it? Didn't Epps run or something like that? Oh,
I don't want to quote it because I can't give you the facts.
All right, I'm bugging.
I got to get internet kid here.
Yeah. But just again, that representation. He from Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
He right from the hood. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that representation is important, and it got people excited.
Absolutely. I think that's where, when people ask, like, why would you run if you knew you weren't going to win? I can tell you in that there was never a point where we didn't think we weren't going to win. And that for me was like, being a part of his campaign, working with him, I treated every day as if we could win. Losing was never in my mind. If it was going to be a 16-hour day, we start at 8, win could be done till late. Let's get this. Every single piece is choreographed to make sure that we are putting the best foot forward to win.
Okay.
And to me, if no matter what you do in life, that's how you should do it. Like, all you need to let me know is I got a 1% chance. Good enough. That's a chance. I have a chance. I'm putting it all in. I'm going forward. And that's the mentality that Lewis had. And we remember we talking about this. He said, I'm representing, like, when a young black boy from Jersey City, like, looks at me in the newspaper, on the articles, on television, he could look at him and say, he ran for mayor?
It matters.
I could do that one day now.
It matters.
It opens, like you said, that representation. It opens up a new possibility for him to get involved that wasn't previously there. And for people that haven't had to face that, because let's be honest here. For our history shows, most control throughout our history is predominantly white. You can't get mad if you're uncomfortable with the conversation. Please read our history.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And only up until recently are we seeing those actual changes. And it's still not welcomed in 2022. The Little Mermaid, people arguing that this is not accurate. And I'm like, it's a Disney cartoon. What do you mean accurate?
That makes
when
no sense,
Donald,
bro.
when they were going to make Spider-Man black and they were rumoring that it was going to be Donald Glover, Twitter went crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, to me, we're still having that problem that some people are uncomfortable with the thought that a black person can get involved or that can play a character of a certain stature. And to me, I'm just like, if this is true, then something is wrong.
All right.
And you're okay voicing that you want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But you're uncomfortable sharing your reasons why.
Yeah. But you told on yourself.
Yes, exactly.
You absolutely told yourself.
Because if you say to someone, "Why are you so upset that
about
the Little
a fucking
Mermaid's
mermaid?"
black?" They're like, "Well, because it's historically inaccurate."
Historically?
And you're like, first off, in many movies, there were many white characters, many characters of color that were portrayed as played by white actors,
Right.
and no one said a thing.
Right.
So it's to me, it boils down to more of there's a deeper what's the word I'm looking for? There's something a lot deeper with that than what most people let on to.
No, absolutely. But I think with well, first and foremost, if y'all still mad at him, you're a bozo. I just want to make that clear. All right, you are a bozo. But I think with bringing it back to politics, I think that representation is important. And I think a big part of what I do is so people can be like, oh, he from around here.
Absolutely.
He from, the area. He had similar experience. He knows the life, but he chooses to talk about this. Mm-hmm. So it's possible. Yeah, that's all we need. We need to be able to see that it can be done. And I think with more people who choose to be that representation, who choose to be the person to be like, okay, nobody's doing this, so I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
It will keep sparking people to become more interested. And with politics, it's a numbers game.
Absolutely.
So you need the numbers, and to get the numbers, you need to go where the people are. And for a large portion, like, back to Lewis, like, he was up on the hill. He was on every single block. He was right in the trenches
Every day.
every single day. Like, he was with it. And it's like, that is the type of people that we need, because far too often we get community leaders, I'm using air quotes, who do the bare minimum just to obtain a certain level of status, but don't do anything else.
Absolutely. And I want to go into that thought, but when my camera shut off. So give me a second.
No problem.
You guys tune in. It'll be cut out and no one will know, but we'll be right back. All right. Thank you for your patience. But we're back. So one of the things you said that stuck out to me was like, it's more people step up and say, no one's doing this, I'm going to do this. It's going to spark that in people, right?
Right.
Now, you and I talked about this earlier, right? Usually to stand up and be the first person to do something, it's not always just I'm going to stand in and do it, right? Because to do that, you, in a sense, are stepping into an area that's unknown. No path has been written for you. You can look at other people before you, but you kind of are writing the story yourself.
You're putting a target on your back.
And you're doing that at the same time. And this is where, for anyone that has not embodied or embarked on a journey like that, it can be extremely terrifying.
Absolutely.
And to me, and that's one thing, like I said, why I commend Lewis on wanting to do that, is because we need more people like that. And we need more people willing to take the risk, willing to take the chance, willing to jump in. And it goes back into the culture, right? In the culture, no matter what nationality you are, but even more predominantly in Black culture, willing to go outside your grain is something that we just don't embody.
Yeah, because I think historically there's always been a fear of failure, and then for us, that failure comes at usually the cost of our lives or the cost of our freedom.
Absolutely.
So that, subconsciously instills a fear into us to kind of just follow the program.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you deviate either way, there's a high chance you're going to fail. And then as Black people, like, our consequences are usually more severe than anyone else.
Oh, absolutely. We don't have a nest egg or to fall back on, or parents that can provide a living.
No trust fund and all of that. Like, it's none of that we can just be like, I can jump out the window because I got a safety net.
Yeah. And then no, I'm not mad at anyone that has that.
Yeah. That's not a slight to anyone.
More as comes down is to, like, that there's something to take away from not having a safety net. And I speak only on my experience, because when I embarked on this journey and doing the things I was doing, I had a good job, making good money, and I could have just rolled that out till I retired. And in my life, I had no safety net. And that was the biggest thing, is like, a lot of my friends were like, bro, you this just you. Like, and I have a little safety net. My friends look out for me. My girl definitely look out for me. But there was only a little safety net there, right? So it's like, if I fail, like, I'm going to have to go back to doing something else. And like I told you with you, there were days where I was like, oh, God, okay, God, I'm waiting for that help, because I can't, I just don't know right now. But for many people, if you're, like you stated before, if you're just worried about your survival, taking a leap into something is far from your mind when you're trying to worry about paying your rent and getting some food to eat that night.
Yeah, if I'm trying to survive, I don't have time to dream.
And that's what's, to me, is when I hear these stories of people that were in those circumstances but still leaped. It's even more mind-blowing. Like, I'm not sure if you saw it, but the documentary on Lil Baby on Amazon.
It's on my list. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, so I don't want to give out, like, a spoiler for a doc, but, like, one thing about him was he leaned into the life he had as a young man due to the necessities of his life to provide for himself.
Right.
once he got tired of the risk he was taking, he but kind of got brought into the hip hop game.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, when he did make it, he was like, oh, wait, now I have a lot more responsibility than I thought.
Right.
I know you during the Black Lives Matter movement and the things with George Floyd, he put out, what was the name of that track?
I'm blanking too.
But you know what the name of the track
exactly
is,
what
and
you're talking
everybody
about,
watching it. To have that level of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
when at first the only thing you're doing was trying to survive, is just astounding to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that's prevalent throughout most people that are following their purpose, as I like to call it. There's always a deeper meaning to what you're just doing than just the fame, the money, and the influence. Is to be used in a sense of progression. Like Lewis, like we used to talk, and I was like, everywhere we go in the city, people know you.
Right.
I make a joke where I was like, we're gonna or every morning we used to go for a run. So I said, we're gonna go to different parts of Jersey City and run. I'm gonna try to find places when people don't know you, and that's where we're gonna campaign. And then when we got to a point where, I'm giving away all the secret sauce, right? When we got to a point where everybody knew him no matter what ward we were running in 5 days a week, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to Hoboken.
Yeah, got to now.
And then I took him to Hoboken, and lo and behold, some dude's like, yo, Lewis. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to go run. I'm done playing it, but it just goes to show that, I lost my point to come back, but it just goes to show that everything that he did leading up to that moment prepared him for his run. And that I think that's something a lot of people don't realize when they're on their journeys, right? That we look at that job we didn't like, and we don't take any value from it. We look at our history, and we don't take any value from it. We just kind of accept it's what it was, and we walk away. But when you're walking in alignment with your purpose, you start to realize everything you did lead you to this point.
Yeah, and that's why I don't believe in coincidences. That's why I believe that no matter, even for my own personal life, everything in my life has prepared me to do what I'm doing right now. Every single thing. And it's like a wild thought, because I ran into a friend of mine a couple weeks ago when I was at my homie Daquan Sweeney's event. Shout out to Daquan. And I ran into a friend from elementary school. Shout out to PS12. And we were talking, and I was telling her, like, yeah, I do a podcast now. She was like, you do a podcast? I'm like, yeah. She was like, that makes so much sense. I'm like, wow. She was like, you talked so much in school. I'm like, what? She like, yeah. She was like, you always talk like you had always had information. You was always telling people what was going on. And I was like, what? And then I go back, I found my 8th grade yearbook, and in the book, it was like, they gave me like an award for like news nerd or something like that, where it was like basically like just someone who's like super talkative, has information.
Yeah.
So it's just like all of that has led me to here.
Yeah.
Me always having conversations with people. Like I've always been like that, even though I'm naturally quiet a lot of times. When like you get me going, like we rolling, and I've noticed that since I've started doing a podcast, every single time I try to deviate from that alignment, like you was talking about, shit goes bad. Every single time. Every single time. So it's like everything that I've learned, and especially with now the way things are picking up more and more, and just being able to get the 5 years is like, looking back at it, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes, sir.
This, because I now realize that I tried the school thing, I tried to find a good job and be a corporate guy, whatever the case may be, and I never felt as free as when you cut a microphone on. Like this is my weed.
Oh yeah.
This is my high.
Yeah.
Like you cut a microphone on, and I don't care what we doing. It's party time when you cut a microphone on.
Sheesh.
So like, I've kind of just accepted it because I was fighting it for a long time. And then, you know, some things happened in my personal life which just dragged me to this point of you have to do this now. You can't, of course, you know, do what you need to do, pay your bills, take care of your kids, whatever the case may be. But this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like at this point, I don't fight it anymore. And I think that acceptance really came when I looked up and said, holy shit, I've been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, man, because that's impressive. Like, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it for 5 years, you're going to get good at it.
Yeah.
It's going to become a part of what you do. But to have the level of engagement in which you do, to keep maintain it going for 5 years, that to me is astounding.
Thank you, bro.
Like, I don't know too many people that have been embarking on a craft 4 or 5 years, let alone continuously trying to push it and grow. Continuously staying involved to the point, like you said, you say something about bike lanes and people are like, hey, look, Mr. J, Mr. 4K.
No, yeah.
What's wrong with our bike lanes?
Like, yeah, so it's like and funny enough, like I was doing it, but God bless quarantine. Like that's when I saw a spike in listens. That's when people was like, hey, I got a chance to listen and this is great. I'm just like, and it just all happened at once. And I got all these eyes on me and I got all these people from me. And then I'm getting messages, oh, so-and-so listen to this. Then I'm getting, the more I'm doing it, especially like in the past year or so, it's like, oh, so-and-so from the city heard your podcast. I'm like, oh, so-and-so from the state heard your podcast. I'm like, oh.
Okay.
Like, okay, this is different now.
Seriously.
This is different. And then,
seriously.
And just from the work I put in, you know, thankfully I've been able to have guests on the show who are very high quality people. And I guess it's like not a butterfly effect. It's kind of like collateral where it's like I have someone on my show like DB. Shout out to DB. And he came on the show and more people was like, all right, we know DiBiase. Why he talking to you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Because, you know, DB don't really move for nobody.
No. That brother is on his own lane.
That's what I'm saying.
And he doesn't, like, big shout out to dude.
Yeah,
like,
shout out to DB.
He's one dude that I respect.
You know we got the same birthday,
his
right?
crap. What?
We got the same birthday.
Bro,
that's
the way it works.
Yeah, that's
the way
that
it
was
works.
funny. We figured that out while we were recording.
Sheesh, man. But yeah, I respect his movement. He sets his own standard, moves in his own lane,
right?
And he just does his.
And
thing.
that was a shot in the dark. Like I was completely shout out to my man P Dot because him and P Dot know each other, and I hit P and I'm just like, yo, bro, you think D will come on the show? Because I'm like, I'm a fan of the music. I've always listened to it, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna just try, because I'm okay with no. I've definitely reached out to people and they were just like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So I reached out and shout out to D because I sent him a message. I'm like, shit, this people gonna say no. All right, I'm gonna have to figure out with the next guest. And he hit me back, I think like a day later or a couple hours later. He was like, yo, what time? I was like, what?
Yo.
Like, huh? And then, so that like, you know, DB's a dope artist from the city who he reps the city. So that helped out. You know, getting Lewis on the show was a good look. And then just, I've been able to cultivate relationships. Because for me, like my philosophy is, I like dope shit. Just across the board. Like, no matter what field you in, if I think what you do is interesting or I support what you do, I want to talk to you. And luckily, the people all of my guests that been on the show have been people who I actually value what they do. So it's like it creates a different level of conversation with me because I'm genuinely a fan.
Absolutely.
I'm not on there trying to like, who's it? Like I'm not asking stupid, salacious shit. I'm not asking things that don't really matter. Like I genuinely want to get to know you because I like your art. And for me, when people make dope art, it's like, okay, I need to know who you are because I'm so enamored by your art. I need to know who you are as an individual.
Absolutely.
So it creates a different level of conversation, which people tend to like or seem to like. So shout out to them. And then even with shout out to my brother Frankie Metals. Like that was, even meeting him was kind of like serendipitous. Like I was kind of a little all over the place. Forgive me, but
All right, you good, man. You good. Keep going.
I was deciding to do the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit. Do I just buy a microphone and set it up in my house, or what do I do? What do I do? So I'm like, nah, I need to do this the right way. I need to find a studio. So I go on Twitter randomly, and this is like 2016. It's like, yo, anybody know a studio in Jersey City? So, boom, someone hits me up. They're like, yo, come to my studio, meet my guy Frankie. So I'm like, all right, cool. Go to the studio, maybe like a week later. The studio is on the Ave between Myrtle and Grant.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone knows that area, it is very, very busy.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep it like that.
Yes.
It's busy. It's
Yeah.
a very busy area. So I go in the studio, go in there. Like, yo, Frankie upstairs, just wait here. All right, cool. Go down, looking around. He up there cooking up something because he's a producer.
Mm-hmm.
So he come down. You know, Frankie, I love Frankie to death. Like, Frankie come down, all cool and shit. He like, yo, you 4K? I'm like, yeah. For like Frankie, like, yo, anybody who know Frankie, like, Frankie has like mafia energy a lot of times.
Yo,
like, he just be
the Big
chilling.
Don,
Yeah, like
back.
Big Don energy, like.
Yeah.
So I love Frankie. Shout out to Frankie. So like, he like, yeah, you 4K? I'm like, yeah. She's like, yo, I heard you want to do a podcast. What's it about? So I give him like a little rundown, like, you know, we'll talk about politics because I'm from the area, da 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 da. So he takes a long pull of the cigarette. I'm in. And then that's what happened.
And from there, it was just history.
We was just rolling. And then it's like a lot of people ask, a question I get all the time is like, yo, do you and Frankie know each other? Because, you know, y'all seem to like, you know, bond well. I'm like, nah, my first time meeting Frankie was that day. I didn't know of Frankie and it was funny because I realized, well, not we, but I realized I knew who he was because I have a lot of friends who make music.
Okay.
And I've always heard the name, like, yeah, Frankie Metals. I was just like, I don't know who the fuck Frankie is. But when I met him and then we connected and we talked more and we just built this rapport that's really become like a true like brotherhood where it's just like, and I know that sounds a little cliche, but that's really what it is. It's just
absolutely,
like,
yeah.
It's just like we kind of built this into this thing because like he believes in what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And he's more on the technical side. Like some people like the music under it or like how things are edited and all that. That's all Frankie.
See, I think, and first off, it's an amazing story, and it goes to show like even without having a history, he believed in what you stood for and what you want to do, and he took a leap of faith and got involved.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's people like that are priceless when it comes to this journey.
Absolutely.
Where you're willing to jump in with blind faith. And I'm sure you probably been that person for somebody else at one point in time.
Yeah. And
it's like we don't realize that we are the main character of our stories, but sometimes we're also the co-stars of others.
Right.
Whether it's for a day, an hour, a week, a year, whatever it may be. We all play a significant role in each other's journeys. Mm-hmm. And in hearing yours and seeing the people that you get involved with, the elevation of where your show's going, the fact that next Friday is your 5-year anniversary.
That's so crazy.
Like that to me
so crazy.
Is, how can I say it? It is an honor to have you on my show.
Thank you.
Because I value people that are willing to put into work into something without knowing the outcome or having any expectations, but willing to see how far you can push it. when you get to a point where you're like, all right, well, I had some pretty dope people and I'm good. Nah, let's keep going.
That's exactly where I'm at, because like I never started this with the intention of being like, I'm gonna be Charlamagne the God or something. Like I never like I completely started this just because I like podcasts. That's the only reason. And then like my first year was just give it a year, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Got through the year, we had a 1 year anniversary. And then we had a bunch of people came out. So I was like, oh, okay, this might be catching on. Second year, still building momentum. And now it's at the point where it's like I can't stop.
No.
Like if I wanted to, someone would like try to harm me physically, because it's like I've put so much work in, so where it's like, thankfully, like people look forward to Tuesdays.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean this in a bad way. You're the reason I release my shows on Wednesdays now. Because literally, Ron, I put out the episode with Ron, and he goes, "What day you put out?" I was like, "I was going to do Tuesday, but you know what Tuesday is."
Yeah.
So I was like,
"That's my day.
We're gonna put that out on Wednesday."
Yeah,
I'm still cool
day.
with it. Yeah. But it's beautiful to hear about the growth, man. And with that being said, like, what's next up for 4KJ and for the Stress Podcast?
I mean, more elevation. Like we was talking off mic just about, making what we're doing bigger. And I think right now that's this space I'm in now is kind of like just brainstorming. Okay, how do I take this to the next level? Because I have more eyes on me, because I have more people listening. It's just about, of course, keep doing what I've been doing. But it's like, all right, more quality guests, more, and I hate this word content, but like more content, things like that. But yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling, bro. I'm gonna keep rolling. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. Add different components, try to get into different fields or whatever as far as this avenues. Like, for those who don't know, that video that y'all see on my Instagram, this good brother shot it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like more stuff like that, just kind of, because I'm people give me shit all the time because I don't have visuals, right? That's one thing that I'm just not budging on right now.
I hear you.
But I understand that, that is a big part of it. But for now, I do enjoy having it as an audio experience.
I hear you.
So it's just, keep doing what I'm doing. And I honestly don't know. I don't know. I didn't think I was going to get to 5 years.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going to happen next year.
Hey, no pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure, man. I respect it. I believe me, I respect it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I want to thank you very much for having you on the show.
Appreciate you.
Is there anything you want to tell the people in the audience? Your camera is right there. Anybody listening, anything you want to say before we get out?
Look, man, check this out. My name is 4KJ. If you just tuning in right now for whatever reason, I host a podcast with my brother Frankie Meadows called For the Stress Podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. Follow me on Instagram. I don't have a personal Instagram, so follow me on Twitter if you care about me as an individual. But yeah, man, just thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, bro. Just tell a friend to tell a motherfucking friend, man. I'm out.
Hey, I hear that, man. And if you guys like what you heard and you want to check out For the Stress Podcast, hit that link up down below in the description. And if you're listening on the podcast, check out the description for the podcast. I'm always putting the content in there as well.
Yeah.
But check them out on Instagram. Check them out on this show. Check them out anywhere you can hear a podcast heard every Tuesday. For the Stress Podcast, 4KJ. And for everybody else, this is your boy, Chris Jeff. Sign off saying thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of A State of Loud. And like always, God bless. Peace.